Nathan Carter had seen his fair share of battles, but he never expected his toughest fight to be over his own dog. After years of service in the military, his suburban home was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where he and his golden retriever, Duke, could enjoy their hard-earned peace. The house sat on the edge of a quiet cul-de-sac, a modest yet sturdy structure with a well-maintained yard. The flagpole on his porch proudly displayed the American flag, and a small plaque by the front door read, "A veteran lives here." It was supposed to be a fresh start, but as Nathan quickly learned, peace was a rare commodity under the iron grip of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Leading the charge was Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA. With her clipboard in one hand and a phone always poised to call in a complaint, she ruled the neighborhood with an entitled smugness that made even the most patient residents grit their teeth. She wasn't just a stickler for the rules. She invented new ones whenever it suited her. Nathan had managed to stay off her radar for the most part, keeping to himself and ignoring the HOA's petty power plays. But that all changed the day Karen decided Duke was a problem. It started with a letter taped to his door. Violation notice. Homeowner at 132, Oak Ridge Drive is in violation of HOA regulations. Unauthorized animal presence exceeding HOA size and breed limitations. Fine, $250. Immediate corrective action required. Nathan frowned at the notice, rereading the words. Unauthorized animal presence? Duke had lived with him for 5 years. He wasn't some stray or aggressive breed. He was a well-trained, certified support animal. Looks like we've got a situation, buddy, Nathan muttered, scratching Duke behind the ears. That evening, he decided to address it directly. He walked over to the HOA office, which was conveniently located in Karen's oversized, picture-perfect home. The porch was decorated like something out of a suburban lifestyle magazine, complete with potted plants that were likely HOA mandated. Karen opened the door, her expression already exasperated. "Mr. Carter," she greeted, her tone sickly sweet. "How can I help you?" Nathan held up the letter. "You want to explain this?" Karen barely glanced at it before offering a tight-lipped smile. "Oh, that. Yes, your dog violates HOA regulations. Large breeds are not permitted unless explicitly approved by the board. You'll need to remove him immediately." Nathan folded his arms. "Duke's been here for years. Never had a problem before. Why now?" Karen gave an exaggerated sigh, as if she were dealing with an unruly child. "We've recently updated our regulations to maintain the aesthetic and safety standards of Willow Creek. Some residents have complained about large dogs being potentially aggressive." Nathan clenched his jaw. "Duke isn't aggressive. He's a trained support dog. Are you even allowed to ban him?" Karen's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Service animals are an exception. But support animals? That's a gray area. The HOA reserves the right to determine what's best for the community." Nathan felt his blood pressure rising. "And by HOA, you mean you?" Karen smiled, her teeth gleaming in the porch light. "Rules are rules, Mr. Carter. I suggest you comply before further action is taken." Nathan didn't need to be a lawyer to know something was off. This wasn't just about regulations. This was personal. Karen was pushing her weight around, assuming he'd back down. Big mistake. He took a step closer, his voice steady. "You should know something, Karen. I don't take well to bullying. And I don't break easy." Karen's smile faltered for half a second before she regained her composure. "Well then," she said, flipping open her clipboard. "I guess we'll just have to do this the hard way." As Nathan walked away, he already knew this wasn't over. HOA's first power move. Nathan wasn't surprised when another letter appeared on his doorstep the very next morning. Second notice. Immediate action required. Homeowner at 132, Oak Ridge Drive is in continued violation of HOA pet restrictions. Failure to comply will result in daily fines of $100 and potential legal action. Nathan crumpled the notice in his fist. This was exactly what he expected, Karen doubling down, expecting him to fold. But she didn't know who she was messing with. Duke wagged his tail beside him, oblivious to the battle brewing. "Guess we're in for a fight, huh, buddy?" Nathan muttered, scratching Duke's head. Deciding he wasn't going to let this slide, he walked straight to Karen's house. She had made it personal, so he would too. Karen was already outside, chatting with Tom Braddock, another HOA board member, who usually just nodded along to whatever she said. She smirked when she saw Nathan approaching. "Well, Mr. Carter, I assume you're here to discuss your ongoing violation?" Nathan folded his arms. "No, I'm here to tell you to back off." Karen laughed, shaking her head. That's not how this works. The HOA has standards, and we expect every resident to follow them. Tom cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. Karen, maybe we should. She cut him off with a sharp glance. The rules apply to everyone. Nathan didn't flinch. Funny. I looked over those HOA bylaws last night, and you know what I didn't see? Any actual ban on Duke's breed or size. He pulled a printed copy of the regulations from his jacket. Care to show me where it says I can't have my dog? Karen's lips thinned. We've recently updated the rules. Oh, and where's the homeowner vote on that? Because last I checked, HOA rule changes require a majority vote from residents. You can't just decide things, Karen. Her smirk wavered, but she quickly recovered. Regardless, your dog is disruptive, and we've had complaints. Nathan stepped forward. From who? Karen's eyes flickered with irritation. That's confidential. Convenient. Nathan shook his head. Here's the deal. Duke isn't going anywhere. If you want to take legal action, be my guest. But I guarantee you, this won't end the way you think it will. Karen's expression darkened. You're making a mistake, Mr. Carter. No, Karen. Nathan turned to leave. You are. The escalation begins. By the next morning, things had gotten worse. Nathan woke up to find a city inspector knocking on his door. Morning, the man said, glancing at his clipboard. Got a complaint about an unregistered large animal on the premises. Nathan's hands curled into fists. Let me guess, Karen sent you? The inspector shifted uncomfortably. The HOA did, yeah. Nathan took a deep breath. Duke's a registered emotional support animal, and I have the paperwork to prove it. The inspector nodded. That's what I figured. HOA complaints like this usually don't hold up, but I gotta check. Nathan retrieved the documents, and the inspector barely glanced at them before sighing. This is solid. You're in the clear. Nathan smirked. Great. And while you're here, can you tell me if the HOA has the authority to enforce rules that weren't legally approved? The inspector chuckled. Not a chance. Sounds like someone's on a power trip. Nathan watched as the inspector walked back to his car, his victory short-lived. Because parked across the street, clipboard in hand, was Karen. She was watching, waiting, her eyes narrowing as Nathan met her gaze. She had lost this round, but the look in her eyes told him she wasn't finished. And neither was he. The HOA escalates the conflict. Nathan had expected Karen to retaliate. He just hadn't expected her to go nuclear. By the end of the week, he had received 3 more violation notices, each more ridiculous than the last. Violation notice number 3. Unapproved lawn decor. American flag must be HOA-approved size. Violation notice number 4. Excessive barking. Duke had been inside all day. Violation notice number 5. Non-compliant mailbox color. Identical to every other mailbox on the street. Nathan couldn't help but chuckle as he read the latest one. Karen wasn't even trying to be subtle anymore. She's trying to bury me in fines, buddy, he muttered to Duke, who wagged his tail in response. But things took a more serious turn when a certified letter arrived in his mailbox. Notice of HOA legal action. Due to continued violations and noncompliance with HOA regulations, the board reserves the right to pursue legal action against homeowner at 132 Oak Ridge Drive. Nathan exhaled slowly. Now she was playing dirty. The investigation begins. It was time to fight back. Nathan spent the next few nights digging into the HOA records. As a veteran, he had learned how to be thorough, patient, and methodical. He attended board meetings, listened carefully, and took notes. It didn't take long to notice patterns. Certain homeowners, ones friendly with Karen, never received fines. Others, the ones who pushed back, were hit with constant violations. One particular detail caught his attention: a line in the HOA's financial reports. A fund labeled Community Enforcement Discretionary Fees. A quick call to an old buddy who worked in accounting confirmed what he suspected. That fund was a slush fund. Karen wasn't just enforcing HOA rules. She was profiting from them. Turning the board against Karen. The next step? Talking to the right people. Nathan started casually chatting with other board members. Unlike Karen, some of them weren't power-hungry. They were just residents trying to keep the neighborhood in order. When he brought up the financial discrepancies, some of them started looking nervous. Wait, so the fines we've been issuing, they don't go to maintenance or improvements? Asked Tom Braddock, the only board member who seemed to have a conscience. Nathan slid the paperwork across the table. Nope. Looks like they're going to a fund controlled by Karen. And I'd bet my retirement check she's been pocketing a cut. Tom ran a hand through his graying hair, clearly disturbed. That can't be right. Nathan leaned in. You've been on this board for years, Tom. Ever wonder why Karen never gets fined for her violations? Tom paled. He had never considered that. By the time Nathan left that meeting, he knew he had planted the seeds of doubt. Karen's next move crossed the line. That night, Nathan installed a security camera on his porch. He had a gut feeling Karen wasn't done. And he was right. At 2:30 a.m., his phone pinged with a motion alert. Nathan pulled up the footage and felt his blood boil. There was Karen, on his porch, with a can of spray paint. She was tagging his front door with fake graffiti. A setup to make it look like he was causing property damage. Nathan exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay calm. Because this was the nail in her coffin, and he was about to end her reign. The HOA oversteps and the protagonist strikes back. Nathan watched the security footage 3 times, making sure he wasn't imagining things. Karen Whitmore, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, had just vandalized his property. And now he had her dead to rights. Duke let out a low growl as Nathan stared at the paused footage on his phone. Don't worry, buddy, he murmured, giving the retriever a reassuring pat. She just made the biggest mistake of her life, publicly exposing Karen. The next morning, Nathan took a different approach. Instead of confronting Karen directly, he made sure the entire neighborhood saw what she had done. At precisely 8 a.m., he posted the security footage in the community group chat on the HOA website. Pushpin Nathan Carter. For those concerned about property values, you might want to ask why the HOA president is the one vandalizing homes. Video attached. Within minutes, the thread exploded. Bust in silhouette Tom Braddock. Karen, is this real? Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. You have got to be kidding me. That's our HOA president. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. Is this why my cousin got fined for damage last month? How many setups have there been? Karen, to no one's surprise, was suspiciously silent. Nathan smiled to himself. Time to up the pressure. Calling the authorities. Before Karen could try to weasel her way out of it, Nathan took his phone and made the one call he knew she wouldn't see coming. Hey, Officer McBride. Got a bit of a situation with my HOA president trespassing and vandalizing my property. Think you could come by? Officer McBride, a no-nonsense cop who had little patience for HOA drama, was at Nathan's doorstep within an hour. After watching the footage, he let out a low whistle. Wow, she really thought she'd get away with this? Nathan crossed his arms. She did. Until now. McBride sighed, snapping his notepad shut. She's looking at trespassing and property damage, at the very least. If you want to press charges, we can move forward. Nathan didn't hesitate. I do. Karen's panic mode. The moment the patrol car pulled up to Karen's house, the entire neighborhood watched from their porches. She stormed outside, already furious. What is the meaning of this? McBride held up his hand. Ms. Whitmore, we have evidence of you trespassing and defacing private property. You'll need to come with us for questioning. Karen's face turned beet red. You can't do this. I am the president of this community. Nathan cleared his throat, making sure his voice carried. Not for much longer. Murmurs spread through the small crowd. The once untouchable HOA president was now being escorted into a squad car. Karen glared daggers at Nathan as McBride opened the door for her. You think this is over? She hissed. Nathan smirked. I know it is. The HOA begins to collapse. With Karen's arrest plastered across the community group chat, the entire HOA board started scrambling. Within 24 hours, white heavy checkmark multiple board members resigned. White heavy checkmark an emergency HOA meeting was called. White heavy checkmark the city began investigating HOA finances. Nathan could barely keep up with the messages flooding his inbox. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. We need a full audit of the HOA's financials. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. Did she find people and pocket the money? Bust in silhouette Tom Braddock. We should vote to remove her permanently. By the next evening, Karen was officially suspended from the HOA board pending investigation. Nathan's fight wasn't just about Duke anymore. It was about every homeowner Karen had bullied. And now the whole neighborhood was fighting back. Karen's final, desperate move. Karen was down, but she wasn't out. Nathan knew someone like her wouldn't just accept defeat. She was going to try one last power move. And sure enough, the next morning, a new notice arrived on his doorstep. Urgent. Final notice of HOA legal action. Homeowner at 132, Oak Ridge Drive has failed to comply with HOA regulations and has engaged in defamation against the board. The HOA will be pursuing a lawsuit for damages. Nathan read the notice twice, then laughed. She was suing him. Desperation looks good on you, Karen, he muttered, shaking his head. But that wasn't all. Karen wasn't just threatening legal action. She had also gone door to door, trying to rally support. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. Karen just showed up at my house, saying we need to protect the community from Nathan. Bust in silhouette Tom Braddock. She's claiming you fabricated the vandalism video. She says you're spreading lies. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. This woman is delusional. We literally saw her get arrested. Nathan wasn't worried. Karen had burned too many bridges. And he had one final move left. Karen gets caught red-handed. Nathan had planned to let Karen dig her own grave. But she made things easy when she trespassed on his property, again. This time, she wasn't alone. A private security camera caught her breaking into the HOA office late at night. The footage showed her shredding documents. Nathan didn't even have to lift a finger. The next morning, Tom Braddock sent a copy of the security footage to the city attorney. Bust in silhouette Tom Braddock. We've got her. This is destruction of HOA records. Within hours, Karen was slapped with official charges. Loudspeaker, the HOA board announced an emergency vote to remove her permanently. And just like that, Karen's reign was over. The final blow. Nathan walked to Karen's house that afternoon, just to see her reaction. She was outside, furiously ripping her HOA president's sign from her front yard. When she noticed him, she exploded. You think you've won, Carter? She screeched. This neighborhood will fall apart without me. Nathan grinned. Somehow, I think we'll survive. She stormed toward him, her face twisted with rage. You ruined everything. Nathan crossed his arms. No, Karen. You did that all by yourself. She opened her mouth to argue, but before she could, a car pulled up. A for sale sign was tossed onto her lawn. Karen turned ghostly pale. You have 30 days to vacate the premises, a legal rep informed her. Your removal from the HOA board voids your privileges. Nathan smirked. Better start packing. Karen sputtered, shook her head, and stomped into her house. For the first time since he moved in, Nathan felt true peace. And so did the rest of the neighborhood. HOA crumbles and Karen's downfall. Karen's downfall was swift and spectacular. By the end of the week, the HOA board held an emergency vote. The results. Loudspeaker Karen Whitmore was officially removed as HOA president, permanently. The entire neighborhood showed up for the meeting, and Nathan made sure to stand front and center. Tom Braddock, the board member who had started questioning Karen, stood up to address the crowd. His voice rang with authority. Effective immediately, Karen Whitmore is no longer part of this HOA. Furthermore, due to recent findings of financial mismanagement, the HOA will be conducting a full audit. We encourage any homeowner who has received questionable fines to come forward. A wave of whispers spread through the crowd. Then a voice rang out. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. Wait, so we've been paying Karen's personal expenses this whole time? Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. I knew something was off. I got fined for overgrown grass when I had artificial turf. Bust in silhouette neighbor number 3. Can we get our money back? Nathan watched Karen's face turn redder with every word. She was standing near the back, arms crossed, her jaw clenched so tightly it looked painful. When she realized all eyes were on her, she scoffed loudly and stormed toward the exit. But Nathan wasn't done yet. Leaving so soon, Karen? He called out. She spun on her heel, her face contorted in rage. You think this is funny? I kept this neighborhood in order. Without me, it's going to fall apart. Nathan smirked. Or maybe it'll finally start thriving now that you're gone. A few chuckles rippled through the crowd, but Karen wasn't laughing. She shoved past people and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. For the first time in years, the HOA meeting ended with something new: applause. The HOA faces the consequences. Karen might have been out, but Nathan wasn't satisfied yet. The entire HOA needed to pay for what they had done. And it turned out, he wasn't the only one who thought so. By the next morning, White Heavy Checkmark, a class action lawsuit, was in the works. White Heavy Checkmark, multiple homeowners filed official complaints with the city. White Heavy Checkmark, the HOA, was hit with a massive fine for financial mismanagement. It was a full-scale collapse. Nathan received a call from Officer McBride, the same cop who had arrested Karen. Well, Carter, McBride said, a grin in his voice, looks like you took down an entire HOA. Nathan chuckled. Yeah, well, they started it. McBride laughed. Enjoy your victory, man. You earned it. Karen's final defeat. Nathan expected Karen to go down fighting. Instead, she did what all bullies do when they lose, she ran. By the end of the week, a for sale sign appeared in her front yard. The same neighbors she used to intimidate now openly celebrated her downfall. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez, ding dong, the witch is gone. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. If I had known all it took was Nathan moving in, I would have invited him years ago. Nathan sat on his legal, regulation-approved porch, sipping a cold beer as he watched Karen load boxes into a moving truck. For the first time in a long time, the neighborhood felt peaceful. And best of all, Duke got to watch Karen leave, from the comfort of his very own front yard. The HOA faces full legal consequences. Karen may have been gone, but her mess was far from over. With her removal, the entire HOA board was under scrutiny. Nathan, along with several homeowners, had filed official complaints with the city about financial mismanagement, unfair fines, and abuse of power. And the city took immediate action. Loudspeaker breaking news. Willow Creek HOA under investigation for financial misconduct. The next few weeks were chaos for what was left of the HOA board. City auditors arrived unannounced, combing through years of questionable fines, missing funds, and illegal enforcement tactics. The HOA gets hit with massive fines. When the report came out, it confirmed everything Nathan suspected. The HOA had been illegally collecting thousands of dollars in bogus violations. The city slapped them with white heavy checkmark, a $250,000 fine for mismanagement. White heavy checkmark in order to refund every homeowner who had been unfairly fined. White heavy checkmark a mandatory vote on whether to dissolve the HOA altogether. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. So, can we just get rid of this whole corrupt HOA? Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. Yes. Everyone vote NO on reinstating these clowns. When the vote happened, it wasn't even close. Loudspeaker final vote results. HOA dissolved. 83% yes, 17% no. The Willow Creek HOA was officially dead. Nathan's final power move. With the HOA gone, Nathan decided to go one step further. He helped organize a class action lawsuit against the former HOA board. And guess who got named in the lawsuit? White heavy checkmark Karen Whitmore. By the time the case made it to court, Karen's name was officially tied to the HOA's corruption. Her financial records were subpoenaed, revealing that she had personally embezzled over $40,000 from the HOA's discretionary funds. When the judge saw the evidence, he didn't hold back. Loudspeaker court order. Karen Whitmore is liable for damages and must repay $40,000 in stolen funds, plus legal fees. Karen tried to fight it, but it was useless. Nathan made sure to attend the hearing, sitting front and center as the judge handed down her sentence. When it was all over, Karen stormed past him outside the courthouse. "You think you've won," she hissed. Nathan gave her a slow, satisfied grin. "I know I have." Karen let out a frustrated shriek and stomped away. Nathan? He walked to his truck, feeling lighter than he had in months. The battle was over. And he had won. Karen's personal downfall. Karen had spent years lording over the neighborhood, but now? She was a joke. After her humiliating court loss, her name became synonymous with HOA corruption. It didn't take long for word to spread. First, she was blacklisted from serving on any HOA board in the state. Loudspeaker city announcement. Due to financial misconduct, Karen Whitmore is permanently banned from holding HOA office in any registered community. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. Good. Let's make sure she never gets power again. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. Can we make this nationwide? But that was just the beginning. Karen loses everything. With $40,000 in legal debts, Karen was forced to sell her house. Bust in silhouette neighbor number 3. There's something poetic about Karen getting evicted from the very HOA she used to control. Bust in silhouette Nathan Carter. Poetic justice at its finest. Her most embarrassing defeat yet. Karen's worst moment came 3 months later. Nathan was grabbing coffee at a local cafe when he overheard 2 women whispering at the next table. "I swear I saw her at the city office yesterday," one said. "She was begging for a job." Nathan blinked. No way. That evening, he checked the city's employment site. And there it was. Loudspeaker job posting. HOA compliance coordinator, entry level. Bust in silhouette hired, Karen Whitmore. Nathan laughed so hard he nearly fell out of his chair. The woman who once ran an HOA was now working for one. Bust in silhouette Lisa Mendez. My God, she has TO take orders now. Bust in silhouette Greg Barlow. This is better than a movie. Nathan shook his head, smirking. Karma had a beautiful sense of humor. Karen Whitmore, the tyrant of Willow Creek, was now just another overworked, underpaid employee. And that was the best revenge of all. Epilogue and final mic drop. The Willow Creek neighborhood had never been so calm. Gone were the constant fines, the petty rule enforcement, the fear of Karen's clipboard lurking around every corner. Now the community had a sense of freedom, of relief. They could finally breathe. Nathan spent his days in the same house, but now it was truly his home. He and Duke would sit on the porch, watching the sun set over the cul-de-sac, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he was constantly on guard. But the true sign of peace came that morning when Lisa Mendez knocked on his door, holding up an envelope. "I thought you'd get a kick out of this," she said with a grin. Nathan raised an eyebrow, accepting the envelope. He opened it, and inside was a fake HOA violation notice. Violation notice. Homeowner at 132 Oak Ridge Drive is in violation for excessive good vibes. Fine, $500 for creating a positive, relaxed atmosphere in the community. Nathan let out a loud laugh, almost spilling his coffee. "Are you kidding me?" Lisa chuckled. Apparently, the neighborhood's been too quiet for some people's liking. They really tried. Nathan leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. If Karen were still around, she'd have a field day with this. Well, Karen's gone, and she won't be coming back. Not in any form. Lisa winked. "You're officially the hero of Willow Creek." Nathan gave a satisfied grin. "Let's just say, I'm comfortable being the new sheriff in town." As the laughter died down, Nathan stared at the empty space where Karen's house used to stand. Her moving truck had long since left. He had won, not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever felt powerless under Karen's reign. The neighborhood had come together, broken free, and now they could live in peace. And just like that, Nathan felt a calm satisfaction settle in his chest. He had done more than fight for his home. He had helped an entire community reclaim their freedom. As he looked around, he knew one thing for certain. No one would ever forget the time the wrong HOA president messed with the wrong person.